Hi, my name is Eileen. I'm from Philly. I'm a mom. I have three wonderful kids. I'm here to tell you about my story. I was diagnosed with NVLD, which is nonverbal learning disability, at a late age, 64 last year. And I just want to bring awareness because it really affected every single thing in my life, from my childhood to jobs, relationships. I always felt different. I never knew what it was. And it's very important to me to discuss it and maybe form some kind of community where we can help each other, with some kind of resources, even though we got the diagnosis late in life. And like the experts say that it's like significantly underdiagnosed. When I found out that I had this, I'd never heard of such a thing because it's not common. I thought maybe it's something on the spectrum, and being my age, there was nothing back then. There was nothing there. Or if they saw signs, they didn't think anything of it, like a stigma. And it really has nothing to do with intelligence as well. And that's what kind of frustrated people that I knew, because they're like, you do this fine, or or you're just so funny, or you're clumsy. Also having people think at the same time that you're really lazy. Why aren't you folding right? Why can't you organize? Why can't you figure this out when you do everything else very well? So that kind of makes it confusing and frustrating for the people that are around me. We probably need to get a support group for all the people that have to stuck with us with our little habits. But yeah, I always felt different from like a very young age, always. Kindergarten, I have like one of my earliest memories was we had a test on how to zipper. And with this particular disability, it definitely affects my motor skills, and I couldn't do it. I had my childhood friend that was next to me. Thankfully, she zippered it for me right before the teacher came, and I passed. So that was great. Shout out to Bernie Veneur. She's great. Actually, I met Bernie Veneur not too long ago. And, we were friends since like 3 years old. And so she really knew me. She knew me when I was younger, and we were talking about different things, catching up. I bought this book, Burn After Writing, I had one, and it's like a journal, and I also bought one for Bernie. And there's a lot of questions about childhood. One of them in particular was, how would you sum up your childhood in one word? And she was like, fun. And mine was terrified. And she was shocked. Like she was really surprised. Like, it's like you really you hide it the best you can. You overcompensate. And she had no idea. So, well, I was terrified. I was terrified because I couldn't do things. I was terrified to be called on, that I wouldn't be able to pronounce things correctly, because it affects my speech. I couldn't write well. I couldn't hold things, scissors, like in kindergarten. I couldn't do it. I knew how to do it. My hands wouldn't let me do it, and so I was always scared I'm going to be called on, and my gig will be up. They'll know that I'm stupid and that I can't do things. I always felt like imposter syndrome. Like, just to appear below average took a long time, or average just with certain things, like what you take for granted, For instance, like I'm driving down the shore, we're going to the same place every year, and my kids might be like my older son was like, Mom, why are you playing you stupid? Like, why are you writing this down? You know your way, you go there every year. And that's just one of the examples. And I remember like thinking, first of all, if I was going to pretend I'm anything, I'd be like a queen or a princess. I had no desire to play I'm stupid. That cleared it up right now. And I love him, but he was really frustrated. This is the kind of things my kids had to deal with. My daughter, everybody's getting their hair done with like a curling rod. No, I could not do it. I could not. I burned my hands, and and my daughter, rightfully so, would be like, you don't have to do anything. Forget it. Just go away. And it's just, you just feel so incompetent. Again, not knowing what you have, it just, you go into like a depression. You develop such high anxiety at the littlest thing. Like, oh, here, can you do this and this and that? Thanks. Wait a minute, I have to write that down. I can't. I will do it, but I have to write it down. So that's a whole nother story for all the people that need support, that live with people particularly like me. But at least now, knowing what I have, it's validating and also explains a lot. And that's a great thing, but it also makes me feel really sad for my young self. Why wasn't it picked up, even by teachers or anything? But I would mention it to doctors, and it was, just basically, oh, you just, uncoordinated, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Spatial is big. I mean, like, how they're saying about you're like a bull in a china shop? I surpassed that completely. I mean, I could be walking with a push cart in the department store, and I turn around for something. I look, somehow, something got caught in something, and like there's a whole line of huge stuffed animals that were on the top shelf. Somehow I was just clearing them out as I was walking. And I mean, and it's just normal, I have a hanger hooked onto me by the time I'm done checking out. You just try to get it off real fast, and then you have an issue because, you can't really use your hands to get it off, so it becomes a nightmare. Everything just kind of just, I can't think of the word. Yeah, and then it spirals. And then really, because then then you're so nervous. It spirals. Being in Target, I'm trying to get my list that I wrote. Then everything drops out of my pocketbook on the floor. And then, people are looking, and you get more, get more and more anxiety, and then it just gets worse. But I do think knowing that I have it is so much better, because I can kind of prepare a little bit. It's like, I'm not going to bring all this with me. I can't. I just admit what my flaws are. And so that way you can at least, know what to do, or, try to not do it.
Do you think that it made you a more patient person because you struggled with things, and so you are more patient with others who also struggle?
Yes. Most definitely. I don't know if I have a lot of empathy. That's something that just came natural, but I think it definitely has that, because it made, I, not knowing, always thought outside that circle. And so, a lot of things are black and white, especially when you're raised and going to a Catholic school. It's one way to think. This is what you do. You write with your right hand, and that's just how it is. You have to be kind of uniform, and I was not the uniform type. So, yeah, it definitely made me have some understanding and patience. Probably too much patience, because it took me 64 years to find this out. I mean, and it wasn't from not lack of trying, because I really tried through the years, and it's just a really hard diagnosis to get. You have to meet a criteria, and it's with a neuropsych doctor, and it's 8 hours long. But I'm just glad I'm here to say that I had it and found out. Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as when I was little, again, I was fearful, painfully shy, where, like, we couldn't even get my picture taken. Like, they would sometimes they have a photographer come. I was so, I guess you call it, I had such bad self-esteem because of it. I didn't want to be seen, and I kind of wasn't seen. It could be when I would say things, I couldn't do it, and be like, blow you off, like, oh, come on, just, forget it, just do it for her. And they never were hearing me that I couldn't do it. They didn't hear it the way I was saying it. They had, like, their own narrative for what it was, which is probably, just lazy, uncoordinated, and, it's faster to do it. Which is sad, because there's so many people I grew up with, and family, extended family, sister-in-laws, that had that idea. And, and I'm sure I was talked about, she doesn't do this right, she can't do the dishes right or whatever. And I would love to go tell them all, like, guess what? But because it was never because of I didn't want to do it. It's because I wasn't able to do it. And being the youngest and the only girl, my parents were really happy they had a girl. And so, I was spoiled, in a way. And so it was really easy for them to do things for me. Even, for my dad, when I actually became an adult, I had bills and stuff. I struggled with money management, like anything like that, graphs and maps. And so, like, he would take the money and then pay it for me. And that's just how it was. And so I was kind of labeled as spoiled, I was at a rehab. I remember this young girl at a rehab, and she was a young girl, and she was not good at keeping her room tidy or anything tidy, and we had to. There was checks, and that's why I was able to do it. I passed, barely, but I passed. And she was just a mess. And I told her, I'm like, oh, yeah, I have the same issue. She was like, oh, you're Jewish? Oh, you're a Jewish American princess too? And I laughed. I'm like, no, oh, no, that's not why. But okay. And I just thought that was really cute.
A Jap?
Yes, that's what she figured I was.
Wow.
And which I don't think it was done like that because I was that. It was just because it was easier. And my parents were like, they loved me. They generally liked doing things for me. And my mom felt very guilty at the end before she passed away, like that she didn't teach me anything. That's how she, thought of it. And that's how we all kind of thought of it, but that wasn't true. I couldn't do it, As a childhood, I was very scared. And, I was put in a tap dance class, which is crazy. And, of course, I'm always in the back row, and I want to be in the back row. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do any of that. Jump rope, had a hard time that. Hopscotch, just everyday things that affected. But people didn't know. They just thought they had no idea what was going on. They just thought I wasn't, trying.
I think
because I seemed fine, like the rest of their friends.
I think most people who know you as an adult would think that you're a pretty confident, outgoing person. So yeah. When did that change? When did you stop being the shy girl in the back of the classroom?
Yeah. Well, that was probably around maybe around 6th, 7th grade. When you start meeting a group of friends, that you choose. They're not the neighborhood on your block friends. And so in friends, I'm still friends with till today. So when that happened, that started really... I was accepted into the cool group. I didn't feel cool, but they liked me, and that gave me confidence. Definitely gave me confidence. Not so much in school where I'm going to raise my hand or anything. If I knew even if I knew the answer, I would never be positive that it was right. So I did not want to be called on. Always went to the back of the room.
But you were confident in your social life. Outgoing?
I think I was, but right now, who knows? Maybe everybody's mad at me. I don't even know. I really wanted to act. What? That's so crazy. But I did. I really did. I felt like I'd be good at it. I really did. But I was so petrified. I was doing something that was just not natural. I didn't tell anybody when I joined the drama club. And they had a big show, and I was Princess, sweet and lovely. None of my friends joined the drama club. That was kind of nerdy. And so I didn't tell anybody, and somehow everybody found out, even my parents when I came out. I froze, of course. I got a couple words out, but it was like I was shaken, I was petrified, but something inside me wants to do that. I wanted to do it, and I wanted to break the ice for myself. But I didn't want anybody to watch.
Maybe related to why you want to record this now.
Exactly. That's why I'm here talking to you guys.
Yeah. You have a desire to be seen. Maybe.
And that's the thing too. I really wasn't seen growing up. It was mm-hmm. She don't know much on how to do it. It just, and I was trying to I felt like I was screaming how I felt. Mm-hmm. But it was nobody listened. They, you're the only girl. I didn't. They all played they were all Catholic. We went to Catholic schools. Really smart. All my brothers were really smart. So, it's I just think that whatever I had to say, nobody was going to really listen to anyway. Until I became an adult.
What do you think about the link between NVLD and anxiety?
Oh yeah, it's hand in hand. I think that all the problems that you have with it definitely trigger the anxiety. I don't think it comes first. Okay. I think that if I had maybe some kind of intervention and resources, which I hear they have now for kids, young students, that it could have been completely, different life for me. I mean, I would have gone for more like raises, jobs I knew I could do mostly, but do it my way. I think it would have, if I had the resources and I known, I think probably the anxiety would go away.
So, should we talk about how you eventually got diagnosed? What kind of led to that?
I was always asking my friends from childhood to teenage. I was like, I feel like I don't like to say the word, but it was like not a retardation. That's what we didn't have autism. We just had one general blanket. Slow.
We're special.
Special, short bus person. So like in general, people in their mind had, somebody that really couldn't function at all, had like low intelligence. Nobody would ever really, ever think that. So they thought it was almost ludicrous. I was looking for attention. Even to this day, like, but you did this. Yes, I did that well. But it is, what I'm doing, I'm struggling just to be average. You don't know what behind that, or at work, I would stay late and not get paid. Just to be like presentable. It was hard too getting it because of just like the attitude with people as far as disabilities, like that would be an insult to me. So it just never came. I always inquired, I would ask, and they would just laugh and say, "You're just funny and clumsy," but it wasn't, Or I didn't know what to do. My whole life, I was always trying to pursue it and push for it. Finally, it happened. And at age 64, I had the long test, and it was, I was happy to do it. I was glad I was there.
Whose
I'm glad.
idea was it?
Well, it was, I pushed for it. And then, as I got older, like my neurologist, they all agreed, that you should have a neuropsych evaluation, but they could never get it done. And I can't call and make an appointment. They can't. They have to request it. So I wasn't sure if that would ever happen. And so I was really glad. With my last neurologist, she really pushed for it, and it happened. When I had talked to a neurologist, I talked to like a neurologist years ago, and they had mentioned it somewhere in their notes that they thought that I should be able to get a neuropsych appointment. And so that was like in my records, but it just never happened ever. They never pursued it. Like, it just didn't happen. And no matter where I went, it just didn't happen.
Why were you even in the situation of seeing a neurologist? Do you want to talk about like you had a stroke? That's kind of what was the impetus, right?
Well, yeah, I did have. I'm trying to think, 3 or 4 years ago. Probably it would be 4 years. I know, so, because I had such bad anxiety and depression. Again, relationships, everything gets affected. It's like you're not a good mom. Some things I was really good at, but I don't know. To me, I always felt different, but when you're younger, you don't know about the tests, you're not told about them. But I was always inquiring to people I felt comfortable with. And I never got too close to anybody because then they might find out, like I'm stupid or I can't do things.
Friendship-wise?
Friendship-wise, too.
You never let people get too close to you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Really?
Yeah. I was scared. I was, it's crazy that it can affect, everything. So that affects your relationships, your marriage, your boyfriends, girlfriends, a lot of things. Like I remember I was asked to be maid of honor, and I just, the anxiety for one of my friends, I could not do it because I didn't know where to start. I couldn't make it happen. And so, I mean, it really affected so many things, and people that, who knows, are mad at me because it's something I did that I wasn't even aware that it was how I came across. So, I kept on pushing. Once one doctor said that, I kept on pushing. But, nothing was happening. And in at work, it was getting harder because as far as like reporting, everything's, more modern. So, we were like forced to have like more reports due like every half an hour with Excel. And I was terrified because it was really hard for me. anything like that. It's a really hard challenge. I would need to lead the steps right there and then have them there every time I do it. So, and it's like if just say like my boss was like telling me something that she needs me to do, like kind of telling me steps to do, and there's no way, and I could do that without having it written down or printed. So I would print almost everything all the time. And it was very, very frowned upon, because they're saying, how much paper you waste. Why are you printing this when I'm telling you right now what it is, what you have to do? And not knowing, you're just like, I don't know why I do that, So it affected a lot of all my jobs, all my jobs. I worked at Comcast. I'm also dyslexic, so reading like codes, I'm putting it backwards, but it seems right to me. So, and then it just seems like as you get older, your symptoms are more like amplified because you're getting older. So you're not sure if it's just old age, but it was just getting worse. You feel worthless. You just want to get through the day, go home, and just literally go into a closet. Because whatever you're going to touch or do, it's going to be a mess. And so I would, this is right around probably when the pandemic, I started drinking, self-medicating. Mostly did it when I was by myself. It wasn't like I had a problem socially with my friends with drinking or anything like that, but it was basically just so I could fall asleep and shut my brain down so I didn't have to think of what was going on with me in my brain. So, and that was scary because then if you live by yourself, you're isolating. You start spiraling because nobody's there. Nobody knows how you're really doing. And then it just got worse. It got worse and worse and worse. And and I was just able to work, get it done, stay late, and then go home. And then I would drink, so I could just pass out and sleep. It got to the point where I was drinking while I was driving, and that was my rock bottom. Yeah, like the gig's up now. I mean, the way I was going, it could have been like could have been dead. Like I never thought about harming myself, but I certainly didn't care if something happened to me. I remember thinking that while I was drinking because I never was a drinker. Like most of my friends were like, "You barely drink," but it was like. It was kind of like secret. And I remember thinking, okay, because I'm drinking so much, my liver must be shot. Like, what is the point now? I'm older. All my kids are, they're great. They're really smart. They're well-adjusted. They don't need me for anything. And I need them more than them. So I was like, they'll get over it. I'm sure they won't care if something happens to me. It'd be easier. But I got to the point I got in a bad car accident, terrible accident. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, where I hit parked cars and I was drinking heavily. I went to the hospital. I don't even remember all of it. It was awful. Trying to make a turn 4 parked cars, and each one was considered a hit and run. And then, I was taken to the hospital. And then before I knew it, I got, a summons in the mail for DUI to go down and get fingerprinted. And I was scared. Along with my issues, I was so scared. I was so anxious. I really feel as though a lot of it just the anxiety was because of everything in my life that I just kept on messing up with. And so I did go to rehab. It wasn't just for for drinking or drugs or anything like that. It was also for cognitive skills, which I had problems with. It was really actually it was a very good thing for me to go. I wanted to go. I wasn't always liking it, but I did. I did everything they told me to do. So then.
You went twice, right?
Yeah, I went twice. Yeah, I went right after the accident. I went and I did stop drinking, and I went to outpatient, and then I went to outpatient rehab, and they still like they test your urine and stuff like that. Actually, that's where I was going when I had my stroke. I wasn't really drinking then. I was getting back to it. When I knew that I didn't have a meeting to go to, but I wasn't back to where I was. But I did start to drink again, and then I wound up having a stroke. And at work, on my way to work, I really had no idea. I thought I was dehydrated because I've been dehydrated before, and I was driving to work. Actually, it was the night before when I came home from work. I got out to my car, and then I went to my back gate to get into my house, and I couldn't open the lock on the gate. I couldn't do it. I was like, what's going on? And my neighbor was out back. I'm feeling so stupid. So, and then eventually got it somehow with the stick, but I couldn't get the key in the door. I couldn't open it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Finally I did, and I just thought I must be dehydrated. I'm going to drink a lot of fluids and go to work in the morning. And that's what I did. As I was driving, it was really hard to just even stay between the lines on the road. And I'm like, what's going on? I pulled over, told my boss I might be running late. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'll be in. And then, I started to drive again, and then trying to adjust the rearview mirror. That's when there was depth perception. I couldn't grab it. I seen it. I couldn't get there. And I'm still not realizing it. And then I went to work. And it just got progressively worse. Like my eyesight, the steps. I was doing a really simple task at my desk. So, really, really simple. I've done all the time. Maybe scan something, and I could not figure it out. I literally couldn't. It was just all my thoughts just left me, and I was so scared. Rather have a broken limb. I couldn't control it. It was so scary. And I have all these patients that I would always make sure they got lots of attention. I would dance with them, play music. They were like, oh, what song are you going to play? And I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on. But I was at a PT clinic, ironic. That's where I worked, and I loved it. So I made it through the day till 6 o'clock. They were so used to me, I pampered every single one. I always wanted to make sure they came back. So I baked them stuff. I brought in the mummer costumes from my son. We taught them that. That was part of it. So yeah, that's what I did. I loved it. It was nice. And my boss was taking my blood pressure during the day, and kind of keeping track a little bit. She called my son Sean, and he told her to do this. It's probably that. Who was a doctor. God bless him, Shoni. It did get worse, but she came to the hospital with me. We walked there because in my head when I was driving to work that day and kind of struggling, I was thinking, well, I'm going to work, and then the hospital's literally 2 blocks down. I'll go there after work and then go get my car, leave my car there, and go home. But I never left. It was found out that I had a bilateral stroke, which means it's on both sides of the brain, and that's what it was. And it was really shocking. Really didn't realize I was old. Basically, that was the worst feeling ever. It's just losing your thoughts. I didn't could not alphabetize. I couldn't answer the phone. Couldn't get the words to form. And I remember just crying at my desk, saying, I asked my boss if she could come over. I said, I should not get paid. I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I'm smart enough to know that I'm really getting stupid fast. That's how I felt. And that's what I told her. I'm smart enough to know I'm getting stupid fast. And it's moving. It's picking up, speed. Yeah, and the whole day I stayed. That just got worse. After I had the stroke, and with all my other, my disabilities that weren't, labeled yet, I was at my worst. I was so depressed. And at the same time, my brother was sick, and he was a recovering addict, and I was assigned to take charge of him, decide if he was on life support, to take him off on. I was just so depressed. I seemed to lose a lot of friends at the time, and family passed away that I really, really had a hard time accepting. Could not understand how these people are so great and they're gone and I'm here, contribute like nothing, So it was really hard for me. I took it really hard. I still do. Makes me feel sad. It was people that it was like I would talk to daily. It wasn't just like once in a while. So they were definitely in my life. And then when I went to the rehab the second time, it was my son took me. I had him so worried, and you don't even think of it like that. You don't think about. You think, oh well, who cares? They're not going to care, but they do care about you. And like you're so consumed by shame. Like shame is so big, especially when you're Catholic. Shame is it. That's it. And, shame is exactly what held me down without speaking up sooner. Shame is just so bad. And once I went to rehab the second time, I really, really, listened. Like AA, I don't really go anymore too much, but I definitely follow all the rules. That's what helped me. It applies to anything, not just drinking. And that was really, really helpful. You have to go through a step with resentments. Why you have to do this? Tell somebody your personal business. But it really helps. The way you have it set up with the 12 steps, it was really, really helpful to discover yourself and to see things on the flip side, how other people might see it. And holding on to your resentment, only affects you, not them. That was very, very helpful. I also had my son, I would call, because, I'm away in a rehab with, mostly young people. It was hard. I had to, live on my own. You make your own beds, get watched. You can't go to the bathroom. They have to open up for you. And, I was one of them. And at first I didn't think I was, I think you go through stages. It's like, no, they're awful. There'll be a lot of fighting going on and words being said at the meetings. I would call my son and he would be like, well, you don't want to leave. Just think of them. They're sick too. They need help. That really helped me because you're right. They are. And, we're all here. We all have problems. Yeah, there's this person saying awful things or they're just not nice or not kind. They're sick too. I am, and they are too. And so lots of times that got me through it because I wanted to leave. I tried to escape once. I got caught down. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did.
You were running away?
Oh, yeah. I was a rebel the first time. I had candy. You couldn't have candy.
You love candy.
I love candy. You couldn't have candy. The first rehab, I would get my son to meet me. Try to have him meet me in the parking lot. Because I could not have anybody come see me. It was during COVID. In the parking lot, you go out for a smoke break. Even if you didn't smoke, you just went out. The smokers had really good conversations always. And so we'd be out there, and then Timmy made the timing perfect. While I was out there, come up, and then give me the candy, but you can't have it. So it's like I'm putting down my coat, my pockets. Some my friends that I met there, they're taking some. And then, wouldn't you know, for some reason, the therapist who walked us down came back early. She's seen it all. We got called on. We almost got thrown out. They were crying. I took the blame because it was me. And then, they called me in a room, and they said, "Do you have any more stuff on you?" And I said no. And then they patted me down and packed sugar babies fall out. I'm like, oh, well, maybe just one more. And they said normally you could really be let go, but they let me stay. And then when I went, my son took me the second time. It was really bad. He was so upset, and he took and got me a place that was outside the city. It was in Lancaster. Completely different atmosphere. I'm good with mental issues. But he didn't tell me until we were driving. He said, "I have something to tell you." And I said, "What?" He's like, "Mom, they don't allow candy either." And because we bought a whole big bag of candy because supposedly you could have it there. I said, "What? That's it. I'm out of here. I'm not going anywhere." Oh, God. And then when I got there, I had to be pat down. And then it's like you take everything off. They want you to cough, and because they think that maybe you're hiding something, so you have to bend over, all your clothes off. And I'm like, this is insulting. I refuse to do that. And the place, like, they ran out of the divider so everybody can see you. They couldn't find a sheet, and so I'm like, I said, I refuse this. This is retail. I got completely dressed. Called my son, come get me. And he said, well, calm down. I'm like, Timmy, how dare they? How dare they? What? No. And then calming down, he's like, well, no, Mom, I think they do this in places like that. And it's part of the deal. You know, I got to get over being insulted. And he said, and I think that really you would find any excuse to not want to stay. And I thought about it, and it was true. I was definitely in that point for a while, like almost denial. So I did stay, and then when I stayed, I said, I'm going to do everything they tell me to do. I'm not going to be trying to escape like the other place, eating candy. I'm going to do everything they say. I have to do this. It has happened this time. It's killing my son. I mean, to see him crying, to see me that way, it was really hard. And that always stuck in my mind. And he never gave up on me, you know? Where I could tell him the truth and how I was feeling. And it was hard. It was hard because I caused so much pain and worry with him. But he saved me. That helped me for the will. You should want to do it for yourself, of course. And eventually I did while I was doing it, but at first it was just, you know, that, hey, I really matter to him no matter how messed up I am. He wants me around. So right now, in November 26th, it'll be 4 years that I've been sober, and I will never go back to that again. I can't. Yeah, it's just not something, but I mean, I understand a lot of people have relapse, and it does happen. I'm fortunate. And I just feel as though at my age, if I had a relapse, I'm not sure if I tell anybody, I think that would be the end of me. I would just continue. I couldn't get back again. So that's in my head. I'll never do that. Like, I really don't even have a desire.
So after you got sober, then how did you get diagnosed?
Well, when I was at the rehab, you know, you talk to, like, you know, you're in different classes and you have appointments with doctors every week, you know. And for this psychologist that I had there, he actually had mentioned that it would probably be good for me to get that neuropsych appointment. And that was mentioned before, but he mentioned it, and he was going to try to get that done, but it never happened. But he, you know, reinforced that again, and, you know, made me think again, like, I want to pursue this still. I don't know why it didn't happen, but, you know, I continued to pursue it, even, you know, I was sober. That was just that's how I dealt with all my issues, was with when I went and drank. And that was scary because they tell you in rehab, like, you know, people, places, and things. So when you get out of rehab, you know, different friends, you know, want to go to the same bars or this or that. And but that really wasn't my problem. It was just me being alone, and that's daily living. So that was very scary. It was really, really scary. And I was scared to go home because I wanted to be this to last. And I didn't go home, so then I went to like a partial outpatient, and I lived down the shore, which I thought was amazing, but with a bunch of girls, and we had people that stayed there 24/7. You always had to get testing and then taking 2 classes. And then after that, I found out my insurance was canceled for my job because I wasn't back to work, and so I didn't have any more insurance, so they asked me to leave. Like, I wasn't prepared. I need to be prepared. I can't just go home. I'm scared. I asked them if there's somewhere else I could go, and then I decided to go to a sober living place. It's a house. It was all like young people mostly. I stayed there for a long time, like maybe 6, 7 months. A lot of times it's just a month. I stayed there, and, you know, I had to still follow all the like rules, but I wanted to do that. And then, you know, ease my way back into being by myself. And I never heard of it. I mean, there's dyspraxia, there's dyslexia, all those things I was told about.
But not NVLD.
No, and truthfully, it's just underdiagnosed. And so it's really, not that much known about it. It's still like in its infancy stage.
When you first heard about it, did you feel like, yes, that's me?
Yeah. Well, my doctor, when I got the results from the 8-hour test, which is like everything is broken down like percentage. So it's long. There's a lot. It's confusing. But she called, and so she can actually speak to me and was explaining, and she's the one that told me about, the NVLD, and I never heard of it, and I was really surprised, So I've researched it, and that's when I kind of realized it was, wow, this is crazy, because it's like there's different levels, but like I think I hit almost every trait. But it's amazing, because I was researching what I thought my issues were, or what my diagnosis would likely be. I never heard of this. Most people haven't. And that, to me, that's why, especially with an older generation, with me, that's why I want to talk about it, and especially for people that are diagnosed late, because it's really, really hard. It affected your whole life, and it's going to continue, and you're going to have harder challenges because you're just natural aging. That's why this is really important to me. They do testing now, when they're in grade school and kindergarten. From what I read, because I've been reading up on it. This is more for like the people who were diagnosed late, because it was probably an awful way to grow up, and it's good that we can talk about it.
So what is your goal with making these videos?
Yeah, I would love to connect to other people. I've gone on the Reddit group, and that's great. But like, I kind of wish we had something like AA has. If we could maybe, even go into like Zoom or something and have it divided by location. Because it doesn't mean you have to meet somebody in person, but it would be nice if you were somebody that was in Philadelphia. And then, you know what I mean? And to actually have coffee or something like that. It would be probably very, very soothing and make me feel better if speaking to someone that actually kind of felt the same way. Misery goes in numbers, they say, but it just makes you feel not alone. And I just think that would be great for everybody to actually have somebody close in their location, around older. It'd be a real help. And then we can advocate. We need to just really advocate, and definitely need more awareness. Okay, so I never did this before. I mean, obviously, I'm not really good at it, but I really like it if we can get some input, comments, anything, or something you want me to do, or you want to do with me, or just something to talk about. Oh, I will say that when I was researching it, I found out that Chris Rock also has it, and he was diagnosed at 55. Well, there you go. So it can happen to anybody growing up with such anxiety. Maybe in the future, it won't be like that. But now we gotta stick together, make everybody aware, and this way, as we get older, we can do the best we can, or be prepared for issues that we're going to be hit with. So please, if you see this and you want to, leave a comment, I would love it. If you don't, that's okay. That's okay too. I just would love to hear from anybody that has, any input on this. It would be great. I'd appreciate it. So I'll see you next time. Thank you.